Hey nerds, Todd Simmons coming back at you with a little more Toddomation. So you're done labbing for the day. You've had enough. You're going to go kick back. You're going to relax. But what do you do with the lab that you have spun up in Codespaces? And then when you come back, how are you going to restart it? So a couple of things. One, Codespaces will actually time your instance out and it'll shut it down for you after a certain amount of time of inactivity. I'll be honest with you, sometimes that's a great thing. Sometimes it's not so great, but it's going to happen. If you're not active inside the Codespace, it is going to shut it off. It's not going to delete it unless you don't go back into it. And I'm going to show you, one, how to stop it manually. Two, how to make sure they don't automatically delete it, because Microsoft will automatically delete your Codespaces from GitHub unless you change the default settings. So let's take a look. So I'm done with my lab. I want to stop it. Not a problem. Down here, we're going to click on the Codespaces on Turbo Goggles or whatever. Your Codespace is going to be a different name. That's going to open up the window. Notice this Stop Current Codespace. And that's what we're going to click. We're going to click on that. The instant you click on that, it is going to start stopping that Codespace. Now you can actually go back into your GitHub. So let's just jump back into GitHub. Let's get back into our CLab demos. Now, notice if we come back over here to the code option, we hit the down arrow, right? It says on current branch, uncommitted changes. There's uncommitted changes, by the way, because of all the files that get created when it starts up. Okay, so don't worry about that. Just to make sure, we can tell it to stop. But notice there's no stop in here. Okay, so it is in the process of stopping. If you actually go back to the Codespace by clicking on it, you'll see that it says stopping Codespace. Okay, but let's jump back into our actual repo again real fast. If you don't want Codespace, this Codespace to be automatically deleted, I should say, you would just hit the down arrow next to it, select your Codespace. This one's taking a second. There we go. Here's our Codespaces. We've got Turbo Goggles. Click the three dots and remove the check mark next to Auto Delete Codespace. That'll make sure that they don't delete it. So you can leave it there for an extended period of time and it's not going to get deleted. Now, if you don't care, if it's just something that you spun up just to test something out, it might not be that big of a deal for you. Okay. Now, it does take a little while to stop the Codespace, but once it's stopped, in order to restart it, it's pretty simple. And you don't necessarily have to just wait until it's ready. We can come back to the code. We can go into our Codespaces. Okay. Clicking on it is going to open it back up for you. It's that simple. Now, if it's still in the stop process, it'll say stopping. But mine wasn't in the stop process. It finished the stop, and now it's actually reloading the lab. As you can see, it's coming back up Codespaces. It's setting up its remote connection to Codespace. So it's going to start to bring the Codespace back up. So it did stop, and now it's running again. As you can see it, it's going to bring up the same files that we had before. Okay. But there's one small caveat is even though the Codespaces is running, okay, it's not going to start your Containerlab by default. So we fix that by going into Containerlab. Okay, we don't have to do anything here on the command line. We come into our Containerlab. From our Containerlab, it's going to say no running labs discovered, but it's going to discover the lab. It just takes a second, but it's going to have a big red dot next to it. And just waiting for that to come up. There it is. And clicking on this didn't do anything, right? It's just you have to wait for Codespaces to finish. So now it shows the running labs, but it's red because the Codespace got stopped. In order to bring it back up, it's very simple, okay? You just want to right-click on it. And I'm going to do that again. You just right-click on the basic lab. Now, there's a couple of things. Destroy is going to delete it, okay? Destroy cleanup is going to wipe everything. Redeploy and redeploy cleanup. Redeploy, if you want the configurations that you left off with, you just do a redeploy. If you don't want the configurations, you want it to go back to that init config that I wrote, and feel free to change those, Then you would do a redeploy cleanup. So it would pull all the configuration off and then rewrite the original init configs to it. So I can just click on redeploy. When we do redeploy, we can click on the view log. So it's actually going to show us when it's up and operational. Okay, as we can see, it's now going through that process and it's going to bring our lab back up. Once the lab is fully up, you'll see the table that comes up and shows you, there's 6 switches in this lab. They'll be connected. Over here, okay, you'll see it starts to bring it up, but none of these are actually accessible until the lab is completely brought up. So remember, I wrote some pause features in there so you can, use the 4 CPU and 16 gig version of Codespace. On bigger labs, we're going to need to do more CPUs and more memory. In order to get there, you actually have to have a credit card on your account because those could be billable when you go over the hours. Now remember, the hours are still based on the number of CPUs. This 4 CPU version is 4 hours for every hour that you use it. If you go up to the largest one, which is 16 CPUs and 64 gigs of RAM, that's obviously 16 hours per. In a later video, I'll show you how to do that. So this is how to bring your lab up after it gets shut down automatically by Codespaces, or if you just stopped working and then wanted to bring it up the next day. So once again, you should be good to go. Happy labbing. Talk to y'all later, nerds. Bye.